which is the only assignment that remains. So first of all, when's it due? That's correct. All right, yeah, by end of day, May 3rd. Now, it's going to be just like the midterm in terms of format. There's going to be some objective content. Now, objective content will be up by this coming Monday, the 26th. Okay, that will be ready to go. It'll be good. You can take it then. And I'll probably make the drop boxes for this. So here are the essay questions. Those I'm giving you now. Okay, so I want you to see what they are. And you can get started on these today if you wanted to. Now, I will say this. How many of these do I want you to do? 2. Thank you. Because despite me saying that constantly, someone still did all of them on the midterm. Don't do that to yourself. And listen to what I say, please. So I took the best. I took the best of the 2 and graded them. I personally thought you. So I'll pick 2 of these, and this is pretty much covering everything since the midterm. So India, the Indian religions, and the East Asian religions. So I'm going to go through these questions, and you will again select 2. So number 1, itemize and explain. So don't just itemize. Don't just list. Itemize and explain the 8 notions of the Arya-Stinga Marga. What's that? The Noble Eightfold Path. The right intention, right speech. List and explain those. And again, what's the length on these? I said about the length of a celebrity apology. I'm still using that as a unit of measurement. Why? Because it works. So explain those 8 notions. Now you can find the basics of those 8 notions both in the lecture and on the swing. And in the book. That one's fairly straightforward. So look there, and again, what you've got at your disposal, if I go to Buddhism, there we go, right here. Arya-Stinga Marga. They're there. Listed. Now don't just copy what's here. Don't merely do that because it says itemize and explain. Just put it in your own words what these mean too. 2, compare and contrast the notions of samsara, dharma, and karma in the Indian religions of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. Now they all talk about those things. What are they in each one? So for example, let's just take samsara, cycle of rebirth. All of them. Take that as a given. In Hinduism, it's considered kind of awesome. Okay, like, hey, we're coming back because we're all part of Brahman. It's just repetition of Brahman's glorious beauty. In Jainism and in Buddhism, it's not really a good thing. Like, we're trying to get out of it. And in Sikhism, it's just the way that Omkar has made the world. There's kind of a beauty in living your life. But Jainism and Buddhism have a much more pessimistic view on samsara. That's just a general overview, like explain the differences between them. Like in Jainism, karma is a thing that sticks to you. In Hinduism, karma is basically what is in accord with your dharma, your duty. But in Buddhism, it's the result of your intended actions. So what are the differences between those 3 concepts among those 4 religions? There, samsara, dharma, karma. Then 3, which is related to it, but not the same thing. Compare and contrast the notions of moksha and nirvana in the Indian religions of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. So moksha is the notion of salvation, it's usually translated in English. Nirvana is enlightenment. How do those work differently? Okay, because we're all trying to escape samsara, surely, so there'll be some repeat of some samsara there. But moksha, say, in Hinduism, is to become completely realigned with Atman is Brahman in totality. I'm completely realigned with Brahman. Whereas in Buddhism, it's to get out. Not become one with, to get out and away. That's different. Those are just 2 examples. All right? 4. Itemize and explain the various textual traditions of Hinduism. What I'm looking for there, what are the Vedas? What are the Upanishads? What are the different ways in which those can be analyzed? So if we go, again, if I go to Hinduism, and I go to the notion of texts, there's the Vedas, and the ways they can be divided, and the ways other texts can be divided as well. Knowledges, satras, sutras, and so forth. Okay? What are the different kinds of texts? So what's an Upanishad? What's a Veda? What are the different texts? What do they signify? Because there's a lot going on there. The oldest textual tradition of any religion. 5. Compare and contrast the Hindu notion of the Atman, sometimes Jiva, but Atman, with the Buddhist notion of the Anatman. Well, Atman, that's who you are. Atman is kind of an echo, but at the same time constitutive of Brahman. And what is the Anatman? There is no you. There is no self in Buddhism. Well, then how am I aware? Are you? Well, how do I have a consciousness? Do you? That's the notion of the Anatman. 6. Itemize and explain the 5 Ks of Sikhism. Remember, that's the keeping of a comb, the wearing of a turban, the keeping of a knife or a blade. What are they? So list them and explain them. What are they and what do they mean? What do they signify? Why carry the comb? For example, to tend one's hair, because that's considered very important, a gift of Ikankar. Why carry a blade always? To defend the weak. Like literally? Am I going to stab someone with this blade? Depends. 7. Compare and contrast the inherent notions. By inherent there, I'm talking about the fundamentals. In Confucianism, it would be the Zhengming, like aspects of ritual, aspects of filial piety, and Daoism. That would be the notion of emulating nature, Wu Wei, Zeren. Compare and contrast them. How are they interrelated? How are they distinct? Because, like I said, in China, just like we were talking about Shinto and Buddhism really coming together, especially in Japan, in China, Confucianism and Taoism come together to the point where they're very difficult to distinguish as well and to extricate from one another. And add that to a layer of Japan, too. How are they related? Where in both, I'll just say generally here, in both there's a sense that things are wrong now, and there's a way to fix it, and the way to fix it is to go back. Back to what? For Confucius, go back to the way things were in ancient times, in terms of family relations. For Taoism, go back to the way that nature is. We keep getting away from that. So if we get this if we just get back to that, then the world will be righted by our actions. Notice that's different from, say, the Abrahamic religions, where God will make it right. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. No. Who makes things right? We do by our actions. 8. Explain the ways that Shinto syncretizes with other East Asian religions, namely Buddhism, Confucianism, and Daoism. We spent some time there taking a look at especially Buddhism. We can talk about in the video we were looking at earlier too. How do they sync up? And especially there with Buddhism. And then you could extrapolate, how would this fit with Confucianism? And I said here too, the kami, the spirits, if they're our ancestors, we want to, like good Confucians, we'll engage in filial piety. We will honor them. We will have the right relationship with our ancestors, just as we would have the right relationship with our father or our emperor, the ruler. Taoism, we will go with the flow of what's there. That syncs up with Buddhism. We already talked about that. Syncs up with Buddhism very well. So let me wu wei, let me do without doing. Okay, therefore I won't desire. That is the thing that happens. So be it just going with what is. Taoism. Question number 9, the final question. How are the Indian religions and the East Asian religions distinct from the Abrahamic religions with regard to exclusivity? What do I mean by that? It's kind of explained by the last question, or the previous question. Can you be a Buddhist and a practitioner of Shinto at the same time? Yeah. Can you be a Confucian and a Taoist at the same time? Sure. Confucian and a Buddhist? Absolutely. Taoist and a Buddhist? Sure. Can you be a Buddhist and a Hindu at the same time? That seems difficult, because there I'm Atman, but I'm also Anatman. That seems contradictory. So can you be a Muslim and a Christian at the same time? Hard no. So that's what I mean by the question. So with Abrahamic religions, there really is a sense of, not necessarily violence, but definitely a sense of competitiveness. Maybe that's too strong a word, but a sense of tension. this one's the right, this one, the one I am, right, usually Judaism, Christianity, Islam. If Christianity is true, then Judaism and Islam are not. If Islam is true or the correct religion, then Christianity and Judaism are not. And so on. There's a sense in which if this is if the doctrines of this religion or faith are true, the other ones are incorrect, false. Even just amongst the three, not even including the others. In Indian religions, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, while there's opposition between them, there's at the same time this cooperation that you don't really see with the Abrahamic religions. That is not to say that the Abrahamic religions don't cooperate at all. All right, even in the Middle Ages, the Islamic Caliphate had these communities called dhimmi, where Christians, Jews, and Muslims would all live together and they would study together. And they would study, and there was a friendliness there, but at the same time, there's a sense in which you're incorrect, you're wrong, but we can still get along. But in India, there's a sense in which, yes, they're wrong, but there's more of a cooperation. Buddhists, Jains, Hindus, Sikhs living together. We can do that, that's fine. And there's a sense in which a lot is shared there too, samsara, karma, dharma. And then in the East Asian religions, not only are they not really opposed to one another, but they can be entirely included in one another to the point where it's difficult to figure out which one's which. So Confucianism, Daoism, here, East Asian Mahayana Buddhism, and Shinto can combine in various ways, and that not be contradictory. Now again, if you go back in history like we were looking at earlier, you can see different points of tension throughout history. You can see that in Confucianism and Daoism as well, and amongst other things. You can see these points of tension, but they permit themselves to be able to be admixed with other things quite easily. You don't see that with the Abrahamic religions. Not to say they haven't syncretized throughout history in various versions. Surely. They have. So like Christianity with becoming Santeria. All right, mixtures of magic to appeal to local indigenous peoples, or the Celtic cross. Right, the Celts worship the sun. Here's a cross with a sun behind it. Okay, that'll be inclusive. So sometimes there's syncretism, that is religions coming together, but the Abrahamic ones don't lend themselves to it in the same way, especially with each other. The Indian religions are much more cooperative, even where they're opposed, and the East Asian religions permit themselves to be mixed together. Okay, so that's how they're different. So those two questions. Pick two. Go for it. The objective content will be up on the 26th. That's this coming Monday. And it will be stuff that, again, I'm looking for the obvious. I'm not looking for the obscure. So everything since the midterm. So really the Indian and East Asian religions. You'll want to know the stuff about the Abrahamic stuff that we did earlier in the semester in the background, but that won't be as important. And most of the content there is going to come from the sways. This stuff, by reading the material, looking at the sways, watching the accessory videos, that's going to be helpful for these questions. The objective content is much more straightforward. Really, I don't like to do gotcha questions on that. Oh, here's the thing I never talked about. What's the answer? Open book, open note, because it's at home. All right, but that stuff will be up the 26th. Of course, if you have further questions, you can email me. But I think I'm actually going to conclude there unless there are questions. Are there any? Yes?
How many questions are the objective?
I think it'll be one of two. Depending, and I'm going to either do, probably going to be 25. So 25 each worth 2, that's half. And then each one of these will probably be worth 25%. Probably there's a possibility I might make 20 questions, each worth 2, and then these would each be worth 30. It's probably going to be the 25. It's just a matter of how many questions I feel like making over the weekend is really what that comes down to. It's probably going to be that, though, because I think we've got enough material to do that. And most of the objective stuff is really going to come straight out this way. So if no one knows how to navigate those, you're good. Because, again, the purpose of the test is not to exhaust, it's just to check in, like, can you locate these things? That's the point. It's not to hope I know some are, I hope you fail. That's the way some of my colleagues, unfortunately, are. That's not me. So, like I said, if something occurs to you, please don't hesitate to email me. You can get this done. Really, you can have it. It's due the 3rd, but you could hypothetically complete it by as soon as this goes up on the 26th. Don't rush it. If you have questions, please contact me, because we got a while here. And I know it's a bit early to say it, because here we are still in April, but have a good summer, okay? Have a good rest of your exams. I hope they go well for you. Have a good day, everybody.